Your first thought is that this has to be a dream. There's just no way that you woke up as Chloe. It just isn't possible. But then why did it feel so real? Sure, you've heard of people having extremely realistic dreams to the point that they feel like they lived or even remembered another life, but this isn't really the case. This isn't something that happened in the past. This is something that literally came out of a show. So then that means that you somehow got reincarnated into Chloe's body, right? But how? And more importantly, why? Then again, you might be overthinking this. What if you're just actually having a very strange dream? Well, there's only one way to find out. You take a deep breath before raising your hands and slapping your cheeks. Nothing happens, except that you feel pain. Two ways to wake up from a dream are either to feel pain or to realize that you're dreaming. You already slapped yourself and you're almost completely sure that this is a dream, which means there's no way this is a dream. But this isn't possible. There's just no way that this is your reality. Or maybe you don't want it to be your reality. There's no way you died in your sleep, which means that something brought you here for a reason. Perhaps you're being selfish, but you don't want to be here. What about your friends? What about your family? What about your life, your goals? How could you live your life as someone you are not, as if you didn't have friends or family to go back to? You can't do this. You just can't do this, Miss YN. Your creme brulee is ready. A man's voice comes from behind the door, making you break out of your thoughts. You quickly change into Chloe's outfit and do your hair before opening the door. Standing in front of you is the butler holding a creme brulee. You take it and start eating it. It tastes good. The butler must have known that you, or rather that Chloe, would prefer a creme brulee over a coffee. Wait, wasn't his name Armando or something like that? I should thank him for making me this. You open your mouth to thank him, but what comes out is, "Good job, Armando." Well, if that wasn't confirmation that Chloe's personality is influencing your own personality, then you don't know what is. My name is... Wait, you almost got it right, the butler says, sounding very surprised. What's your name? Armand, the butler clarifies. You almost always call me Jean something. This is the closest you've ever gotten to getting my name right. You can't help but wonder why his name wasn't revealed sooner. Did the writers not know what they wanted his name to be? Or maybe this is just another way they could make Chloe look bad. It's as if they're saying, Look at how disrespectful and rude Chloe is. She can't even get close to saying her butler's name correctly. Isn't she just the worst?" Sure, there are times when Chloe is disrespectful and rude, but you look at Armand and notice how young he looks. He looks too young to have been taking care of Chloe for a long time. Sure, it's possible that he's older than what he looks like, but that begs the question. How long has he been working for Chloe? And is he Chloe's only personal servant? Has she had other servants in the past? You let out a sigh. Miss? Armand calls, making you break out of your thoughts. I just happened to remember that your name was something like Armando, you say as you wave him off. Just hurry up and get the car ready so that I don't get to school late. Armand nods and leaves. Maybe that's your impression, but he seems pleased. Is he really that happy about Chloe remembering his name isn't Jean-Luc? It seems a bit exaggerated to be so happy about it. Or maybe I just think that because I usually don't care about other people getting my name right. You sigh and shake your head out of your thoughts before going into the car. Why is this car so luxurious? You had been sitting in Chloe's car for only a few minutes, but with how expensive even the car was, you couldn't help but feel poorer than ever. You never cared about what you didn't have and were instead grateful for what you did have. You guess that sometimes people feel inadequate when they're surrounded by very nice items. Maybe you're being a bit of an idiot. Realistically, you can't go back to your world. Your only chance to go back is if you steal the miraculous and wish to go back to your world. But that would have terrible consequences. In canon, it was left ambiguous as to what the consequences of making a wish were. At first, it seemed like the consequences were an eye for an eye type of situation. If, for example, you wish for someone to come back from the dead, then someone else would have to die. But in Season 4, it was implied that the consequences for making a wish is the destruction of reality itself. Sure, Gabriel did say he would destroy reality so that he could make a new reality where he and Emily could be together. But in Ephemera, when he made his wish and reality started getting destroyed, the Kwame said, "Not again," implying that the consequences for making the wish was always a destruction of reality instead of an eye for an eye type of situation. In any case, even if you got lucky enough to have your wish not destroy reality, your wish would still have terrible consequences. If someone from your world got sent here in your place, you would never forgive yourself. Might be a bit selfish sometimes, but you're not so selfish as to make some poor stranger take your place. Which means that you're probably stuck here. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Chloe has a lot of money, so I can become an author without struggling financially. I just hope I can avoid the plot. I should keep my head down and do what I can with what I have. But we're here, Miss Lyon. The chauffeur says. You get up and leave the car. Apparently, your existential crisis this morning must have made you late since you were supposed to have witnessed this scene at the school entrance rather than on the way inside of the school. Marinette is trying to give a gift to Adrien? Wait, if today is Adrien's birthday, then that means I was transported into the Bubbler episode. Oh, thank fucking God. You're in the first season of the show, which means that you won't have to worry about some of the things that happen later on. I will be able to avoid them, right? That's a good question. In canon, Chloe was sent to live with her verbally abusive mother who neglected her, and with the implication that she would be even more abusive to Chloe. It only happened because Chloe tried to rise to power, and after being defeated by Ladybug and Cat Noir, Andre sent Chloe away with Audrey so that no one could hold him responsible for his actions. He basically washed his hands free of the situation so that he could pretend to be a good person who did nothing wrong. You're willing to give Andre the benefit of doubt when it comes to his relationship with Audrey, since abusers often hide their true self behind the mask of charm and kindness, but he basically admitted to not caring about his daughter. He can't sympathize with the man who spoiled his daughter rotten, then got upset that she became a spoiled brat because of his own actions. You might be able to avoid Chloe's fate by staying away from the plot, but there's no guarantee that you won't be sent away with Audrey. Furthermore, Chloe's just a teenage girl. She may have done a lot of wrong things, but her punishment shouldn't have been to be abused, especially since a lot of her behavior was due to being abused and neglected by her parents. You think about it for the rest of the school day. When school ended, you decided to go for a walk and think about Miraculous. You've been doing that a lot lately, huh? It must have worried Sabrina since she's following you around asking if you're okay. You ignore her and make a mental note to apologize to her later. Yes, Chloe's fate was bad, very bad, but do you have to get involved with the plot to avoid her fate? As you're walking with Sabrina following you, you hear something approaching you. Hey girls! Bubbler waves enthusiastically. I'm making a party for Adrien. Join me. Oh no. Oh no. No. Fuck. Of course, you quickly reply. Anything for my Adrians. The bubbler takes you and Sabrina to the Agreste mansion. It seems you two are the first people he kidnapped. It was probably because you were in the same park he was in when he got akumatized. You probably should have thought about that before taking a walk in the park. Not that it would have changed much, but still. Now that I think about it, Gabriel's portrayal is kind of flip-floppy. One moment he's an overbearing helicopter parent who has to micromanage everything his son does, and the next moment he's a neglectful father who couldn't care less about his son unless he can benefit from something his son does. But that's the least of your problems right now. In no time, the party is full of people that the bubbler probably also kidnapped. Technically speaking, he didn't kidnap you since you agreed to come, but he probably would have forced you to come regardless of if you wanted to come, so you still count. Just like in canon, Butler tells Adrien about his party the moment he leaves the mansion and sees you all in his backyard. Wait, can he use the slow dance to tell Adrien about how everyone was forced to come here? That way he can be defeated sooner and you can go back to having your existential crisis in privacy. Before you know it, your body is moving on its own. You approach the bubbler with the excuse of wanting to have a slow dance with Adrien to make his birthday extra special. Once the music for the slow dance starts, you approach Adrien. Why is everyone acting weird? Adrien asks when you approach him. The bubbler forced all of us to participate. Oh, wait. Everyone? Including you? Adrien says, sounding surprised that you were forced to come here. You chuckle dryly as you bring your hand to your forehead. You suppose you're not very good at acting like everything is fine. I'm feeling a bit under the weather. I would have liked to rest at home, but I doubt fighting an akumatized villain would do anything. Besides, I wanted to make you happy with this party. That was not something you were planning to say, so it must have been something Chloe felt. Adrien must have realized it too, since his gaze softens. The slow music suddenly changes to upbeat music. Right, Ladybug changed the slow music in canon because she was upset that Chloe was slow dancing with Adrien. You frowned. One could make the argument that Chloe was making Adrien uncomfortable, but even Tiki called Marinette out for using her powers because she was jealous. How many times has Marinette or Adrien done some wrong things that were just swept under the rug. If you were in your world, when you were in your world, you acknowledged that the show wronged Marinette and Adrien, but that didn't mean that they were innocent either. Marinette may have been humiliated by the show a few times, but she still chose to stalk Adrien, steal his belongings, break into his house, and sabotage his love life. Adrien may have been treated as an unimportant afterthought despite being one of the main characters, but he still behaved entitled to Ladybug's love, to pursue her despite her protest, threw tantrums when Ladybug didn't include something, and attempted to murder Alia and Kim. Yes, Chloe's a bully, and that's wrong, but until season 4, she hadn't done anything truly horrible. Even Derision was full of plot holes and contradictions, yet she's treated worse than a literal war criminal. Even her admiration for Ladybug and her friendship with Adrien was twisted to be something self-centered and shallow, because apparently someone who does bad things is incapable of being sincere. Just keep your head down. Why do you even want to keep your head down? Are you afraid of your potential fate? If you were in your world and you could change the plot of Miraculous, you would, yet now you're hesitating to change things. How many times has Marinette or Adrien done wrong things that were just swept under the rug? Chloe's fate was more than unfair. It was an outright justification of child abuse. For as much as you hate the justification of Gabriel's actions, at least the show didn't say that Adrien should be neglected by Gabriel just because Adrien was the mean ones. Chloe didn't even have that. The story had no problem sending her to be abused by Audrey, and that's somehow supposed to be a fitting punishment for being a bully? What kind of lessons was it trying to teach? If you don't stop being a bully the moment someone asks you to be nice, and you're an irredeemable monster who doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Child abuse is bad unless the victim is a bad person, and then the literal child is deserving of being abused. As someone aspiring to be an author, you don't just see stories as a way to teach morals, but also as a way to understand yourself and others. How can you sit back and let a story be terrible? You know what will happen. You know how things will end. If anyone can change the story, it's you. You're going to change the story, even if it means breaking the universe that excuses the bad actions of other characters while condemning the quote-unquote bad guys to being abused or being villains. Well, you're not literally going to break the universe, but you are going to change it while maintaining your integrity. Apparently, while you had your moment of coming to a decision about what you should do, the episode was coming to an end. Sabrina comes up to you. Ryan, the party is over. Let's go now, she says, sounding a bit concerned. Right, you mumbled. Let's go. You start walking to Chloe's home. Sabrina follows you silently until she speaks up. Are you feeling better now? Right. You haven't been acting like Chloe, and you even ignored Sabrina. Must have really worried her. Yes, I'm feeling much better now. I apologize for making you feel worried. Sabrina seems surprised, but quickly shakes her head. No, I'm glad you're feeling better now. She has no idea how much better you feel now. I don't know. I'm just not sure if I should get involved with Canon. You almost has an emotional moment with Adrien. Marinette interrupts your moment. Fuck it, I'm getting involved with Canon. Author's note. Just to clarify, MC didn't choose to change canon because Marinette interrupted her moment with Adrien. It's just that moment reminded the main character of the wrongdoings that both Adrien and Marinette have done. Speaking of wrongdoings, I'm sure there might be some people who have a problem with me saying Adrien throws tantrums when he's excluded. I'll admit that I worded it poorly, but I didn't really know how to word it better, so that's my bad. Now, just to clarify, I have no problem with Adrien getting upset that he's excluded. The problem is with how he acts on those feelings. He literally destroyed property because he was upset that Ladybug made a plan with Rena Rouge without his involvement during a literal hostage situation. I mostly blame the writing for it, since it's the one time they could have addressed the Adrien gets left aside plot, but instead it gets ignored in favor of focusing on Adrien's love for Ladybug. Chronicle. Yeah. In my opinion, there are times where Adrien seems upset that Ladybug isn't just relying on him, but that's just my opinion, and we can agree to disagree. Now, what we can't disagree on, and this is something I wrote when I was publishing it on Quotev, so it's not accurate to the YouTube video. So yeah, my fic on Quotev got like 40 hearts in just 4 days, and I updated it like within less than a week. Because of all the support I was getting, I'm still surprised that this fan fiction is still getting, like, people commenting on it and, like, adding it to their library and all that stuff. But, in any case, thanks everyone so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. And that's all for now. See you next week. Your first thought is that this has to be a dream. There's just no way that you woke up as Chloe. It just isn't possible. But then why did it feel so real? Sure, you've heard of people having extremely realistic dreams to the point that they feel like they lived or even remembered another life, but this isn't really the case. This isn't something that happened in the past. This is something that literally came out of a show. So then that means that you somehow got reincarnated into Chloe's body, right? But how? And more importantly, why? Then again, you might be overthinking this. What if you're just